Remember the thrill of Woolworths Pick and Mix, or unwrapping a marathon bar before it became Snickers? Today we're bringing back 10 classic UK brands that disappeared but never left our hearts. Stick around, your favorite just might be on the list. Number 1. Woolworths. For generations, Woolworths wasn't just a shop, it was an institution. Founded in the UK in 1909, the chain became known as the People's Store because it sold just about everything you could imagine. Step inside and you'd find toys stacked to the ceiling, rows of vinyl records, racks of affordable clothes, and household essentials at prices that felt fair. But the real treasure for most children was the legendary pick and mix counter. Bright tubs filled with fizzy cola bottles, jelly babies and chocolate mice stretched out like a rainbow. It wasn't just about sweets, it was about the ritual of scooping and choosing your own little bag of happiness. Woolies was also a place of milestones, buying school supplies before September, picking up Christmas decorations, or saving pocket money for that first big toy. By the 1990s, though, competition from supermarkets and online shopping began to take its toll. When Woolworths finally closed in 2009, high streets felt emptier overnight. For many, losing Woolies was like losing a piece of childhood itself. Number 2. Spangles. If you grew up in Britain during the 70s or early 80s, chances are you remember unwrapping a pack of Spangles. These square, jewel-like sweets came wrapped in bright, crinkly paper that practically begged to be torn open. Every pack was filled with fruity flavors: strawberry, orange, lime, and the much-debated butterscotch. Kids would gather in the playground, swapping and trading, each convinced their favorite was the best. For many, the deep blackcurrant Spangle was the crown jewel, the sweet that everyone wanted to get their hands on. What made Spangles so special wasn't just the taste, but the feeling they carried. They were pocket money treats, simple pleasures that brightened long car rides or Saturday matinees. Parents loved them too, often sneaking a piece from their child's pack. But by the mid-1980s, sales began to drop, and Spangles disappeared from shelves. There were a few revivals over the years, but they never truly captured the magic of the original. For those who remember, Spangles weren't just sweets, they were tiny, colorful pieces of childhood. Number 3. Rumbelows. Before the age of giant electronics megastores and online shopping, there was Rumbelows, the friendly neighborhood shop where families went to see the future. Founded in the 1950s, Rumbelows specialized in televisions, radios, and home appliances. For many people, it was the first place they ever saw a color TV flicker to life or a video recorder sitting proudly in a glass display case. Walking through the doors felt exciting, like stepping into tomorrow. But Rumbelows was more than just a showroom. It was where parents signed hire purchase agreements to bring home their first washing machine, or where a teenager saved up for months to buy that all-important stereo system. The shop assistants often knew their customers by name, and they were ready to explain every button and knob with patience. As the 1990s rolled in, though, competition from Currys, Dixons, and newer retailers began to squeeze Rumbelows out. By the mid-90s, the last store had closed, leaving only fond memories behind. For many Brits, Rumbelows will always be remembered as the shop where modern living first came alive. Number 4. Opal Fruits. Made to make your mouth water. That simple slogan captured the magic of Opal Fruits, a chewy sweet that became a staple of British childhoods from the 1960s onwards. Each brightly colored wrapper promised juicy flavors like strawberry, lemon, orange, and lime. The texture was perfect, soft enough to chew, but lasting long enough to savor. They weren't just sweets, they were part of trips to the cinema, car journeys on rainy bank holidays, and little packets tucked into Mum's handbag for a quick treat. In 1998, the brand changed its name to Starburst, part of a global rebranding by Mars. The sweets themselves stayed the same, but for many, something intangible was lost. Opal fruits sounded uniquely British, cheerful, catchy, and comforting. Starburst felt Americanized. Even today, whenever a nostalgic fan mentions opal fruits, it's often followed by a wistful sigh and a memory of tearing open that familiar wrapper. The taste may have lived on, but the name carried the real magic. And for countless Brits, opal fruits will always be the original and the best. Number 5. C&A. For decades, C&A was a familiar sight on high streets up and down the UK. Founded in the Netherlands in the 1800s, the chain arrived in Britain in 1922 and quickly became known for affordable fashion that the whole family could enjoy. Parents loved it because it was practical and well-priced, while teenagers flocked there for their first taste of style, from flared trousers in the 70s to bold prints in the 80s. For many, buying clothes at C&A was a family ritual, a Saturday outing that ended with bags full of new school uniforms or a going-out outfit for the weekend. The store had a charm that was hard to define. Its wide aisles, easy-to-browse racks, and cheerful window displays made shopping feel straightforward and welcoming. But as the 1990s wore on, new fast fashion chains began to dominate, and C&A started to struggle. In 2000, the company made the decision to leave the UK entirely, though it remains popular in Europe. Even now, people walking past old storefronts can almost picture those bold block letters, a reminder of a shop that dressed generations. Number 6. Marathon bars. Thick, chewy, and utterly satisfying, Marathon bars were a playground legend. Launched in the UK in the 1930s, this hefty bar of nougat, caramel, peanuts, and chocolate became a firm favorite for generations. It wasn't just a snack, it was a challenge. Kids would proudly boast about how long they could make one last, chewing through each bite, as though it were a test of endurance. That was part of the charm. It was called Marathon for a reason. Then in 1990, everything changed. The brand was rebranded as Snickers, aligning with its global name. The recipe stayed the same, but to many Brits, it felt like something had been lost. Marathon carried a sense of tradition and local identity, while Snickers seemed foreign, almost too slick. For years afterward, people still asked for marathons at corner shops, shaking their heads at the new name. Even today, when special retro editions appear, they sell out fast, because for many, marathon bars weren't just chocolate. They were part of growing up, a sweet piece of everyday history. Number 7. Kwik Save. Long before discount giants dominated the UK, there was Kwik Save, the no-frills supermarket that made weekly shopping possible for working families. Founded in 1959 in Wales, the chain grew rapidly through the 70s and 80s, becoming famous for its bold yellow and red signage and simple store layouts. It wasn't fancy, but that was the point. You walked in, filled your trolley with bargains, and stretched your budget further than you thought possible. For many households, Kwik Save was part of the rhythm of life. Children remember clutching a coin for a packet of crisps at the checkout, while parents loaded up on tins, biscuits, and bread that kept the cupboards stocked. The stores had a certain charm, even if the shelves were a bit plain and the lighting a bit harsh. By the late 1990s, though, the rise of rivals like Aldi and Lidl, along with bigger chains modernizing their image, left Kwik Save behind. By 2007, the last stores closed. Yet for countless families, the memory of those bargain-packed aisles still brings a smile. Kwik Save wasn't glamorous, but it was dependable. Number 8. Golden Wonder Crisps. Before Walkers became the crisp giant of Britain, Golden Wonder ruled the shelves. Founded in Scotland in 1947, the brand quickly became a household name, with its bright packets and bold flavors finding their way into school lunchboxes and pub snack bowls across the country. For many, cheese and onion was the undisputed champion, though smoky bacon and salt and vinegar had their loyal fans too. Tearing open a crinkly packet and breathing in that first whiff was part of childhood itself. Golden Wonder crisps weren't just about taste, they were about moments. Kids swapped flavors in the playground, parents treated themselves at the corner shop, and everyone had a favorite. The brand's playful adverts only added to its charm, cementing its place in British culture. But by the late 1980s and 90s, competition from Walkers grew fierce. Slowly but surely, Golden Wonder lost ground, and eventually many of its classic crisps disappeared from shelves. Though the company still exists in a smaller form today, it never regained its former glory. For countless Brits, Golden Wonder was the crunch that defined a generation. Number 9. Fine Fare. Back in the 1950s, when supermarkets were still a novelty, Fine Fare was a pioneer. It was one of the first big chains to introduce the idea of self-service shopping in Britain. Instead of queuing at counters, customers picked their own items from the shelves and filled their baskets at leisure. A small revolution in the way families shopped. By the 1960s and 70s, Fine Fare stores were everywhere, their bright yellow and black logo a familiar sight on high streets. For many children, trips to Fine Fare were tied to simple family rituals. Holding mum's hand down the aisles, sneaking a packet of biscuits into the trolley, or choosing sweets at the checkout, these little moments became part of everyday life. The stores had a straightforward charm. No gimmicks, just affordable food and friendly service. But as the 1980s rolled on, bigger competitors like Sainsbury's, Tesco, and Asda began to dominate. Fine Fare was eventually bought out and rebranded as Summerfield, and the name disappeared from the high street. Still, for those who grew up with it, Fine Fare represents the early days of modern shopping. Simple, bright, and reassuringly familiar. Number 10. Britannia Music Club. Long before playlists and streaming apps, music lovers in Britain had something special: the Britannia Music Club. Launched in the 1960s, it became a staple of teenage life through the 80s and 90s. The idea was simple. You signed up, got a stack of records, tapes or CDs for a bargain price, and then built your collection month by month. Every glossy catalogue that arrived in the post felt like a treasure chest filled with the latest chart hits, greatest hits albums, and hidden gems waiting to be discovered. For many, joining Britannia was a rite of passage. Teens circled their choices in Bureau, daydreaming about which album would land on the doorstep next. Parents sometimes frowned at the fine print of the membership deals, but that didn't dampen the thrill of unwrapping a brand new CD by your favorite band. As digital downloads and later streaming took hold in the 2000s, the music club model faded into history. But for those who grew up with it, Britannia wasn't just about the music, it was about the excitement of waiting, choosing, and building a soundtrack to your life, one delivery at a time. Take a trip down memory lane as we revisit 15 classic UK brands every Brit still misses, from the high street favorite Woolworths and its legendary pick and mix to childhood sweets like Spangles and the original marathon bars. This nostalgic countdown brings back the shops, treats, and treasures that once defined everyday life in Britain. We'll remember supermarkets like Kwik and Fine Fare, the beloved Golden Wonder crisps, fashion staples C&A, and even the excitement of joining the Britannia Music Club. Each brand has a story. Why it was special, how it shaped British culture, and why it eventually disappeared. If you grew up in the UK, These brands will spark memories of family shopping trips, after-school snacks, and Saturday afternoons on the high street. Join us as we celebrate the charm, history, and heart behind the classic UK brands we still miss today. Disclaimer: this video is for educational and nostalgic purposes only. All trademarks and brand names belong to their respective owners.